Assassins and killers have always been some of the coolest roles to exist in anime. While they may not be the main character or even a long-lasting villain, they often show up, have some of the coolest fights in the entire series, and leave a lasting impression on the story. One of the original characters to do this was Mercenary Tao from Dragon Ball, who was the first villain who legitimately beat Goku in their first fight and genuinely almost succeeded in assassinating him. Of course, Tao at the time was incredibly powerful, but that raises a question. Since the era of Dragon Ball, have assassin characters in anime gotten worse, or have they gotten more powerful as time has gone on? Today, I hope to answer that question by putting Mercenary Tao up against some of the most iconic killers and assassins from the modern era of anime. Toji from Jujutsu Kaisen, Killua from Hunter x Hunter, Sakamoto from Sakamoto Days, and Garou from One Punch Man. Will Tao assassinate the assassins, or finally get a taste of his own medicine? Let's find out. If you like this kind of stuff, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump right in. It goes without saying, but spoiler alert for the following series. Now, Mercenary Tao is actually one of the more interesting characters to scale in Dragon Ball, as he actually has some of the most information written about him in various guidebooks, while also existing in probably one of the most contentious periods in the series when it comes to overall scaling. Firstly, it's important to understand that there are two different versions of Mercenary Tao with two drastically different levels of power. The original Tao from the Red Ribbon Army saga, and the cyborg version of Tao as seen in the 23rd Budokai tournament. The original Tao has no confirmed power level from a legitimate source. The only guide that gives a power level for him is a movie-only pamphlet that states he has a power level of 240. Well, at first, this seems somewhat reasonable as a baseline. This is the same guidebook that states that First Form Frieza has a power level of 85,000, which is incorrect by over 400,000 points. Regardless, at best, this would only apply to a hypothetical movie continuity version of the assassin. Instead, more legitimate manga-only guides found directly in Weekly Shonen Jump have Cyborg Tao at a power level of 210. This would put the assassin a bit over the likes of Goku and Tien from the 22nd Budokai with power levels of 180, but leagues below the likes of King Piccolo, or even just Kid Goku at the peak of his power with power levels of 260. These jumps should be substantial, if not exponential, as in early Dragon Ball, power level increases of only a couple dozen represent massive power multiplications unless you think every random human with a power level of 5 can secretly blow up mountains. Speaking of mountains, this is probably where Mercenary Tao's power lies initially. After losing to him for the first time, Goku states that this is the first time he's come across someone he couldn't beat in a match. Even though Goku thinks Master Roshi and Jackie Chun are different people, he has still seen both of them fight or use battle techniques at this point, putting him above the mountain-busting strength of the attack that destroyed Mount Frypan. However, Goku was Nuzaru when Roshi destroyed the moon, meaning he never saw and doesn't remember that feat happening, meaning we can't scale Tao to moon-busting power yet. Cyborg Tao is a different beast entirely, however. Due to having a power level exceeding 180, his strongest attack should be comparable if not beyond what either Tien or Goku were capable of during the 22nd Budokai. If this is true, he should be stronger than the Tri-Beam, which was outright stated by Roshi himself to be stronger in destructive power than the Kamehameha, putting Cyborg Tao around moon level. Speed is actually way easier to determine for Tao. Unless you believe the very early light speed scaling of original Dragon Ball, the mercenary is directly stated to be able to move at 10,000 kilometers an hour from his famous pillar throwing feat, which would make him hypersonic or around Mach 8 in speed. Just like with the jump in power, Cyborg Tao would also have a massive jump in speed beyond his normal self, being at worst relativistic to the speed of light from Roshi's moonbusting attack. As an assassin, Tao doesn't really have that deep of an arsenal of abilities and can't even fly like later Dragon Ball characters. His main move is just being so much stronger than his opponent that he just one-shots them either with a ki blast or something random like literally his tongue. So does he measure up against other assassins? Let's get into it. Next, let's talk about a series that is actually still ongoing and all about assassins, Sakamoto Days. The main gimmick of Sakamoto is that he's able to turn everyday objects into weapons and have all kinds of unique fights with them, and also that he is a prime and fat version. Regardless, can Sakamoto hang with Tao? Unfortunately not. Firstly, the current best attack potency feat in the entire Sakamoto Days verse is even worse off than Jujutsu Kaisen's. The best feat in the verse comes from the assassin Takamura, who is able to completely delete a portion with Tokyo Tower by swinging his sword. This only gets to multi-city block level. Assuming that Sakamoto could even recreate attacks with a similar level of power, this would once again be substantially below what Tao is capable of. And while Sakamoto is certainly crafty and unique with his fighting style, that doesn't make up for a gargantuan gap in power. So let's move on. Now, when discussing Hunter x Hunter and Assassins, I could have actually used a whole bevy of characters from really anyone else in the Zoldyck family, or arguably the members of the Phantom Troop, but I think Killua, as one of the main characters of the story, is the most fitting to talk about. While I usually cover power first when I scale, Killua's whole thing is speed. Even before getting Nen, Killua was already making after images and killing people before they could even notice, but his most impressive speed feats come later on. He learns how to use Nen, and uses his main Nen ability, Godspeed. This form is obviously a massive amp to his normal speed and increases the electrical properties of his Nen that already existed. It's here where Killua was able to react to an attack point blank as it made contact with his skin, something calculated to be Mach 50 in speed. This is consistent with similar feats where his body moves at partially similar speed to his own lightning, which also again gets him just above Mach 50 in speed. So without a doubt, Killua is massively faster than Tao, so he wins, right? Well, not exactly. You see, strength is a massive issue for Killua here. The single best attack potency feat in the entire Hunter x Hunter verse is done by Meruem, who is essentially still the strongest character and comes out to mountain level, which is the baseline level of power for Tao. Meanwhile, Killua can barely damage characters like Yuppie, whose best feat was far weaker at large town level, even while Killua had a massive speed advantage over the Chimera Amp. So things would probably go very similarly here. Killua could blitz around all he wants, but he's literally incapable of landing a killing blow, so Tao just has to wait for an opportunity to finish the job. Finally, for this video, we have the hero killer Garou. Well, Garou technically might not be an assassin because he isn't paid to do the stuff he does. In execution, he is, and it's my video, so I make the rules. Now, obviously, if we use Garou at his absolute strongest, when he's a monster and becomes the Cosmic Fear Garou, he effortlessly beats any version of Tao, and I'm more interested in the matchup before he gets the massive boost to his abilities. As Garou rapidly grows in strength, as he breaks his limit and slowly becomes more and more of a monster, his actual scaling shoots up tremendously as the story goes on. Even a weakened and fatigued Garou was comparable to Genos, with a much weaker version of the cyborg hero already displaying town levels of power. After successive boosts, Garou became so strong that Garou didn't think he could easily beat him and instead had Orochi fight him instead. This is impressive because Garou could output at least mountain-busting levels of power with his psychic energy. Garou was also at least light speed at this point, as weaker characters are said to move that fast or could just react to lasers. Therefore, human Garou, at least after several boosts, should easily beat Tao. Their strength is comparable, but Garou is just so much faster and frankly infinitely more skilled. Cyborg Tao versus Garou could have potential, but once again, Garou's AP might be planetary, scaling off of Orochi, and his speed advantage should just be even greater. So ultimately, is Tao the strongest assassin in anime? No, obviously not. While his power jump between his normal and cyborg self is insane, it's not enough to beat characters like Garou. But Garou isn't the strongest assassin either. The obvious strongest assassin is still from Dragonball. It's Hit. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. As always, thank you to my members, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.